some of the language and the description of their opponent, sort of the way they seem to create this image of the Iranians and all of their sort of proxies or allies, the sort of imagery that they conjure up. And I think that it takes a certain amount of arrogance, and I'm also going to say it, a bit of racism, to constantly talk about people like they are savages. That is a word that we have heard Hegseth use.
Maybe he's just talking about terrorists. Joining me now live, our political panel, former aide in the first Trump administration, Marc Short. Alongside him, Dan Torrentine. He's co-host of The Huddle, former Democrat strategist. Gentlemen, welcome in.
Thanks, Ed.
Thanks for having us.
Dan, for your fellow Democrats, there are legitimate things to question about war anytime. And in this case, whether it was necessary, whether it will go on forever, whether it's really America first. But can you really ask, is it racist?
No, it's absolutely, ridiculous to make such a statement, and particularly when you're talking about, terrorists and other Iranian leaders that, as I think you said in the previous segment, have chanted death to America.
Yeah.
When the facts are on your side, just kind of accept victory. Focus on that stuff. There's no need to add things like that. Swing voters just roll their eyes. Even some Democrats just roll their eyes, and they often don't hear anything else you say.
Marc, here's another example of the media pushing leftist propaganda and spreading misinformation, I'd argue. Some of the headlines about the attack at the Michigan synagogue, for example. NPR writing, quote, in a small Lebanese town, grief and fear follow the Michigan synagogue attack. And the New York Times, the Michigan attacker was a quiet restaurant worker. Marc, why is the media always trying to turn a guy who rammed his car into an American synagogue? Children were there and thankfully were not hurt. Why do they try to make a terrorist relatable or sympathetic?
Well, Ed, I think that's the reason that the traditional mainstream media has failed, and there's been so many new channels that have popped up, and diversification of the media. I mean, the reality is that the president's efforts in this war would be liberating millions of Iranians who have been captive in a theocracy that, as Dan said, has murdered Westerners of all colors and all faiths. And I think it's actually an incredibly noble cause that our military are fighting. And here on the domestic front, there's no doubt that there are potential people of interest that the government has followed. And the fact that the Democrats are not funding Department of Homeland Security when you've seen numerous now attacks in Virginia, New York, and Michigan remains astounding to me. And as Ed, you and I talked about last week, it's still, I think Republicans could do a much better job of staying focused on that message right now.
Fair points.
And I think they've been scattering a lot of messages, but it's incredibly bad that the Democrats are not funding Homeland Security right now.
Dan, I'm going to give you 30 seconds to be fair and respond to that, because there are Democrat senators now kind of pushing Schumer, it seems to me, and publicly saying, maybe we should fund this money.
Yeah, look, there's two things. I mean, what Marc said about we've had some, I think we basically would say domestic terrorist events. We may have more. And airport lines are getting longer. I think the party's playing with fire here. The facts have changed, right? When this is all about immigration, I get it. It's no longer just about immigration. We need to fund DHS, open it back up, and do the best we can to protect the country and help people at spring break here.
Playing with fire, open it back up. Speaking some truth there. Dan, we appreciate it. Marc as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed.
Thanks, Ed.
Coming up, Joy Reid, not exactly speaking the truth, actually trying to compare the treatment